Well, it is 2 o'clock, so I will take the opportunity to welcome everyone to this afternoon's 2021-22 OHL regular season launch media availability with Commissioner David Branch. My name is Josh Sweetland. I'm the Director of Communications for the Ontario Hockey League. Before we get started, just thought I would inform everyone that later today I will be circulating some media resources, things such as league and event logos, club logos, team headshots, player name pronunciations, as well as an updated media protocol for the regular season, as we will be moving to accommodate in-person media interaction with OHL players and hockey operations staff. So you'll see more information on that in your inbox later this afternoon. Just with today's call in mind, if you would like to ask Commissioner Branch a question, please use the raise hand function here in the Zoom interface, and I will work my way through those wishing to submit a question this afternoon. So while that queue is populated, I will begin by asking Commissioner Branch, having been along for the past 18 months, it's certainly been eventful and full of its share of ups and downs. But here we are on the eve of the 2021-22 regular season. A lot of work has been done by yourself and the leadership group across the league. Perhaps you can share your excitement as play is about to get underway.
Hey, thank you, Josh. And first of all, welcome to everyone that has joined this call. I think that I just have a hard time imagining the excitement, the enthusiasm, anticipation of our players and their families. And of course, our teams. We feel it in the league office. The opening of any season is always special and exciting, but this, of course, has been significantly amplified by reason of the fact that we've had to work through a number of things to ensure that we're in a safe place and conforming with the various government guidelines, which we are. So it's really exciting. It's almost, I said yesterday, I almost feel like a rookie. It's been so long, and it really has caused great excitement and enthusiasm as we move to our first opening nights tomorrow night.
Our first question this afternoon comes from Katie Fraser. Katie, I'll bring up your audio now, and you can go ahead.
Hi there, I'm Katie from CBC News in Windsor. I have a couple of questions for you, Mr. Branch, but I'll start with one. The Plymouth Whalers, Flint Firebirds, Saginaw Spirit, what's their travel status to and from Canada? And what about Canadian teams like our Spitfires going there for plays?
Yeah, so Katie, as you know, actually Plymouth transferred their franchise to Flint. And so they joined Saginaw in Michigan, and then we have Erie, Pennsylvania. And one of the significant developments that we've been able to arrive at is approval for our teams in Ontario, the 17 Ontario-based teams, to travel and play in the U.S. centers. And of course, with the federal government guidelines that have been in place for several weeks, months now, the U.S. teams can come up and play in Ontario. So that's been a very, very important building block to allow us to move forward with our season as planned.
Excellent. I'll keep going unless I get cut off here, but can you tell us a little bit about protocols you have in place to protect the players? I mean, a lot of them are teenagers from COVID-19, and what happens if there's an outbreak on the team?
Well, we do have protocols in place. I mean, there's different steps that you take depending on the conditions. If a player or players came into contact with someone suspected of having COVID, there are rules and regulations all in place. Similarly, if a player, heaven forbid, should come down with COVID, there's another series of steps, procedures, all conforming with the provincial government. I think the important thing here is that as a league, we mandated in mid-July that the OHL community, as we refer to it, and that's players, coaches, support staff, on and off ice officials, and billet families all must be fully vaccinated. And that went exceptionally well. And then subsequent to that, into August, we further mandated that in order to attend an OHL game, you must be fully vaccinated if you were 12 or older, and as well, if younger, be accompanied by an adult. So we've created a real good, positive environment, and a safe environment, because that's paramount, as we all know, in terms of the responsibilities and obligations that we have to our players, etc.
Next question comes from Ryan Payette at the London Free Press. And just moving forward, folks, we'll allow for one question and then one additional follow-up question. If you do have an additional question you'd like to ask, please do feel free to raise your hand again, and I'll try and get back to you. Ryan, you can go ahead now.
You're on mute, I think, Ryan. Ryan is a rookie.
Sorry, Dave. I apologize, Dave. Yeah, long day. So it's become pretty clear that because of the limits in the arenas, that not every fan that will want to buy a ticket and go to a game in the coming weeks will be able to do that. What's your message to some of those people that are eager to get back and may be disappointed?
I think I got all your question, Ryan. You were kind of in and out a little bit. We're at 50% capacity of our arena facilities, and not all fans will necessarily be able to be satisfied to go to all the games, shall we say. We're continue to work with government, especially the province of Ontario Sport Minister, Lisa MacLeod, and we hope that through that work and all the efforts of our teams and work that we have done in terms of safety and health, that capacity limit will grow, and hopeful that that won't be in the too distant future. So we're starting out 50%. We hope to see that raised clearly in the coming weeks, for sure. So we need some patience, but I think that's one thing we've all learned through this pandemic, is that you have to have patience, and we're very fortunate that our passionate fans have been certainly patient and extremely excited about our return.
Our next question will come from Victor Finley, and Victor is the voice of the CHL on CBC this season. Victor, go ahead.
Thanks so much, Josh. Appreciate it. Commissioner, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about the university hockey season this year, which is slowly starting to return from coast to coast, whether it's the AUS Canada West or the OUA as well. Of course, they really didn't have much of a season at all last year as well. So what can you tell us about where the relationship currently stands between the OHL and university hockey right now? Well,
the biggest tie that we have to youth sport is the fact that last year, as an example, we had 354 players playing youth sport hockey on OHL scholarships, and we know their season was challenged, for sure. We have more than 354 individuals on scholarship. Not all our players choose to play youth sport, but I know there's great anticipation that they'll be returning to play, Victor, and we've got a great partnership with them, and we feed off of each other in terms of the growth and development of the game.
Our next question will come from Josh Brown from the Waterloo Region Record. Go ahead, Josh.
Hi, Dave. Can you hear me okay?
I can, Josh. Thank you.
Great. Can you, I've seen it reported, but I just want to get officially, was it 100% vaccination rates for players that are playing in the OHL?
That is correct. In order to play.
And what, do you know how many?
Fully vaccinated. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay, sorry. And just as a follow-up, do you know how many players held out or did not report because they did not want to comply with the vaccination rules?
I mean, it was an incredibly positive number of players that complied. And at the end of the day, we have, I think, virtually 100% save and except, I believe there was one player that chose not to play.
Thank you.
Our next question will come from Brad Cacciamiglio with Sioux Today. Brad, you can go ahead.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. David, maybe you touched on the idea of teams being able to travel back and forth between Ontario and Michigan and Pennsylvania. Can you maybe take us through what went into getting that approval and maybe what the process was like in order to get everyone on board to be able to have that set up ahead of time and in enough time to get things rolling here?
Yeah, Brad, thank you. I think that the one thing, like we were aware, obviously, of the position that the Canadians could not travel by land into the US. And on the surface, that was a very significant challenge and issue to us. As we worked through discussing how we best go forward, what we saw was the great relationships that all our teams have developed with the custom officials at the respective borders. And we drew upon that, and it was a real team effort. Our teams, Saginaw, Sault Ste. Marie, Erie, in particular, worked with the local border agencies to obtain the necessary approvals. And because of those relationships, because of the appreciation of OHL hockey, quite frankly, and the power of sport, they granted permission for our teams to enter their country and play and obviously return.
Brad, did you have anything further there?
No, we're all good. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Brad. Our next question will go back to Katie Fraser from CBC. Katie, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the time. David, you touched on the capacity limits when we talk about arenas and people watching. A lot of the teams depend heavily on ticket sales. Is the 50% capacity enough to sustain your teams?
All our teams depend on ticket sales, Katie. That's our, by far the single largest source of revenue we have. 50% is better than not being able to play the game. And there will be some economic challenges remaining as we move forward. We're hopeful we'll get capacity limits, as I touched on earlier, raised as we move through this season. But also, our position from day one has been to realize that we're not alone in some of the challenges, particularly the financial challenges that have been a byproduct of the pandemic. And so we're going to just work through it and keep our best efforts going forward. And I'm really, really proud of our owners. Last year, our owners met, as they should, all their financial obligations to all the players on scholarship. And there was well over $3 million expended. We did receive some government funding to help offset some of those costs, which we very much appreciated. But the bottom line is we need to raise the capacity limits, yes, but we're pleased to get started, and we look forward to continuing to work with Lisa McLeod the Minister of Sport, along with other officials, et cetera, to see that raised.
You have anything further there, Katie?
No, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. We will now go back to Ryan Pyatt with the London Free Press. Ryan, you can go ahead.
Okay, I hit the unmute button there. So, David, you had a female player drafted into the league this year. You have a female official this year. What do you think that means for the growth of your league and the overall impact in society of this?
Well, I think first of all, it shows the growth of the game, which is really, really important. I think we've all, or most of us, have come to recognize and respect the evolution of women's hockey, and we're very fortunate in Canada. We're a powerhouse worldwide, and the more people we get playing our game, the better it is. And clearly, our league has been working very diligently through our director of diversity and inclusion, Rico Phillips, to be sensitive to, educate, and work to create a better environment for everyone. Now, that wasn't why, Katie Welsh was, or Kristen Welsh rather, was secured as a linesman in our league, first one ever. She earned that right, but I think it's a great statement on the inclusiveness of our league, the respect we have for the female gender, and we're really excited about growing that and helping the ongoing and continued growth of women's hockey and interest, quite frankly. We have so many passionate fans who will undoubtedly appreciate this as well.
Thanks for that, Ryan. We'll go back to Victor Finley for our next question.
Thanks, Josh. I just wanted to ask a little bit about the new TV deal, of course, with CBC and TSN, which obviously I'm a part of, but we'll see the OHL featured on national TV a couple times here later this month, of course, with Barrie in Ottawa, and then again in November with Kingston and Mississauga. So, Commissioner, I'm just wondering, what are you hoping, what are you expecting that having OHL games on CBC and TSN this year will do for the league?
Well, first of all, we were really excited and pleased to enter into a new partnership, as you described. Broadcast is so important to us, and to have Bell Media and CBC supporting the OHL, the CHL is really, really significant to our ongoing growth. So we're looking very much forward to that. I mean, the other elements of our broadcast remain in many ways with our action-packed series, where over 600 of our games are broadcast regionally. And then we have a new provider for live streaming. We call it OHL Live. And that's been an enhanced broadcast platform for us. And I think most of us certainly recognize and feel that broadcast, there's no better way to market, promote your property. And to have the likes of Bell Media and CBC behind it, wow, it gives us so much power to continue to grow our brand.
Thank you, Victor. We'll now go to Scott Radley with the Hamilton Spectator. Scott, you can go ahead.
Yeah, Dave, just the Leafs obviously are having the outdoor game here in Hamilton, and Michael Andlauer, the Bulldogs owner, has talked about wanting to piggyback on that and maybe have a regular season Bulldogs OHL game. What's the league's position? Is that something you guys are all on board with?
Oh, of course, Scott. I mean, the outdoor games are a league property at the NHL level. And quite frankly, our level as well. I've had some discussions with Michael Andlauer. I've had some preliminary discussions with the National Hockey League. I mean, we've had outdoor games before, but always have piggybacked an NHL event, outdoor event, whether it was in Ottawa as an example a few years ago. So we're hopeful that that type of an event can in fact take place, and we're fortunate that the Hamilton Bulldogs and Michael Anlauer are 100% behind it. So we'll see what comes out of this, and we're working towards hopefully a satisfactory conclusion, Scott.
I don't know if I.
Sorry about that, Scott. You can go ahead with your
No,
follow-up.
just sorry, just to follow up. It's a long way away. It's not until March, but there are some scheduling things that are involved in that. Do you have a time frame for when a decision on whether you're going to do it or not would be in place, or could this be done, up until weeks or even a month or so beforehand?
Yes, well, time is an element, Scott. Fortunately, it's far enough out that it's not a critical point at this juncture. We have to find the position of the National Hockey League, and then from there we can proceed. But if there's a willingness, which there is from the Bulldog standpoint, then as a league we'll do and develop the necessary steps to accommodate the schedule, as you touched on. That's a huge point, obviously. So hopefully in the near future, Scott, that we can have the necessary approvals in place, and we can then start to get into some practical planning.
Moving now to Mark Shegg, who covers the Erie Otters for the Hockey Writers. Mark, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks, Dave. Just can you go over the testing requirements for players throughout the league? Like how often will they have to be tested? And then what could it actually take for a game to be canceled? And what kind of contingency plans do you have for that?
Well, we have no testing requirements. All our players are fully vaccinated. And as I touched on earlier, the entire OHL community, as we refer to it, the coaches, the families, the billets rather, on and off ice officials. So and then now in all the 17 Ontario markets, they must be fully vaxxed in order to enter the arena facility. So there's no testing there per se. Obviously, there's some read and react if there's a suspected contact by someone in the organization with someone that may have the virus, but we'll react accordingly. And we have no contingency plans structured per se as to what occurs if we must postpone a game. But that is something that we'll do if needed and if called upon.
Just a quick follow-up question for you then. So just to be clear, fans in the States then do not have to be fully vaccinated for the 3 US markets, correct?
That is right, Mark. We respect the state regulations and guidelines, and we're just hopeful that that will not in any way take away from the safety and well-being of our players in the OHL community.
Thanks, Mark. Ryan Payette has his hand raised. So Ryan, I'll allow you to talk. Sometimes people forget to lower their hands. Ryan, did you have anything more there?
Sorry, Josh, I didn't have my hand up. I must have hit that by accident. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Thanks, Ryan. I have no further questions at this time. If anybody would like to ask an additional question, I'll allow a minute here for anyone to raise their hand. If no one does so, here's Scott. Scott will allow you to follow up with another question here. Scott, you can go ahead.
Just one more thing, and this is about the on-ice product. And Dave, I frankly don't know how you're going to answer this question because I don't know how you're going to know, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. You have 2 cohorts of first-year players this year who've never played in the OHL, and you've got a bunch of guys who played pro hockey last year coming back into the OHL. What's your expectation of what the game is going to look like this year, and how what the level is going to be, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's a great point you raise about the cohorts. And in some cases, you could argue that some of the O3s, by reason of our rules, haven't played in our league yet either, Scott. But we'll stick with the double cohort example you provided. And I mean, the one thing we've seen through COVID, in my view, is the incredible resiliency of our players and our teams. And you look at the OHL did not play last year, but yet we had 30 players drafted to the NHL because of the great recognition by the NHL of the level and quality of our players. We had Team Canada under 17 last year win the gold medal. Over half the team was from the OHL. I mean, there's all these signals that really say the players haven't really missed a beat. Yeah, they're going to have to do some catch up. And I know initially in talking to a number of our teams at the start of training camp, they saw that the players, needed to improve their level of fitness, shall we say, but quickly we're gaining ground and everything else. So we're dealing with a very special group of young people who are incredibly committed, and then with the support of our teams and the work our teams do on development on and off the ice, I really believe we're going to see a great product. I think we're going to see the excitement and enthusiasm. I think players now maybe realize more than ever before that they should never take anything in life for granted. And in particular, there is no right that they play hockey. They have to earn it, and we all have to work to protect it and keep it so that we can all enjoy the game. So, Scott, I'm eagerly anticipating the play. It is a question, but I really feel comfortable that we're going to be rewarded as we generally always are with the young people that play our great game.
Thank you, Scott. Approaching 2:30 with no further questions. Just want to thank everyone for their attendance this afternoon. A lot of excitement across the league. Our first puck drop tomorrow night in North Bay at 7 o'clock. Other games in Barrie and Windsor as well. Time covering the league this coming season. That will conclude today's call. Thank you.